In this film I'm going to be showing you how we're going to carry on continuing using the rolling mill along with a draw plate to make us some nice round wire. My name's Andrew Berry and welcome to At The Benches YouTube channel. I'm down in the workshop that is attached to our shop. It's a bit of a tip everywhere else, but in this particular corner it's actually fairly tidy. And the reason why I'm down here is the fact that we have got a draw bench. This is a draw bench and it allows us to draw down wire. It doesn't have to be round wire. It can be square wire, it can be D-section wire, it can be court shaped. And to do that, we need these draw plates. As I said, I've got a variety of plates here. I've got court shape, I've got a D shape, I've got square, and I've got round. Round ones are the most popular. This goes from roughly around about 6mm down to about 2mm, and then the other ones here continue on down from 2mm right down to, I don't know, like a fraction of a millimetre, about 0.2, 0.3 of a millimetre there. And we're going to be using the draw bench to draw down the wire. But before we get down to draw the round wire, we need to continue using the rolling mill to take the wire down. Now I want to look at making some round wire. I want to make some round wire roughly around about 2mm in diameter. This draw plate here, we've got this is around about 3mm, in fact 2.6. No, it is 3mm, then goes right down to a fraction. Draw plates don't necessarily have the size of the holes, they simply have sequential numbers. So we need to get the wire down to this sort of size, which is about a 3mm first of all, then we can carry on drawing it down to our required thickness. Now we've got the piece of ingot that we cut off, and we're going to carry on using this to roll down. Now if I want to make a piece of wire that's 2mm in diameter, I don't really want to go right down to 2mm squared. I want to start perhaps in a region of about 2.5mm, knowing that I can draw it down from a square into a round wire of a nice 2mm thickness. Take it down to 2mm square straight away. You can take it down to 2mm diameter round wire, but you may get flats on the edges. So I'd rather start about 0.5 mm bigger than what I need, and I can draw it down as we go. As I said, this bit of metal, this bit of silver, is the rest of the ingot that we poured. So I'm going to use the rolling mill to take it down square section down to around about 2.5mm. As this is now, this bit of metal is in the region of 5mm. So like I said in the previous film, if I want to take this down by half, down to 2.5mm, the piece of metal is going to be 4 times as long. So we've got, what length is that? My ruler here. This piece of metal here is in the region of 6 centimeters. 6, so 4 times 6, 24. So I can expect my square section piece of wire to be in the region of 24 centimeters in length. So before we get onto the draw plates, let's use the rolling mill to roll this down to 2.5mm. So we get the V grooves, we put it in the largest one, turn down the handles until it just grabs onto it, loosen it, take it out, turn the handle back a quarter turn and take it through. Bring it out, quarter of a turn, take it through. Handle, quarter of a turn, take the ingot through, comes out, you keep it in the direction that it goes in at. And we carry on rolling it down until we feel that the ingot is a little bit hard to turn. Okay, so I've reached the end of the travel on the first groove here. We're going to open up the rolls until this just fits through the second groove along. Again, come back, and then we carry on taking it through. And I'm going to carry on until we get to the end of this section, quarter of a turn on the handle, take it through, take it down, a little bit further to the end. Now that's the rolls closed, so this is in the second groove here. So as you can see, the metal has already got longer than the 6mm. It is now in the region of 4mm. So we've gone down 1mm and it's got longer. I'm going to anneal this next, make sure it's nice and completely annealed. Then we're going to carry on taking it down using the rolls, the V-section grooves here, right down to 2.5mm. We've got some better torches here in this workshop. We've got oxygen and propane. We're using a Smith's little torch with a little multi-burner on it as well. I got a little bit of oil on my soldering board by the looks of it. That's just burning up. So we get that to a nice temperature. Nice bit of smoke coming off that. I think that was Jason being a bit overzealous with the oil the other day. So let's just wait for that to cool, then we're going to carry on rolling it down to 2.5mm. So that now should be 2.5, and that is the right thickness that we're going to need to start taking it through the draw plate. Now, you've got the draw plate, we've got this 3mm hole here. Will this fit through? Okay, so this just about fits through the 3mm hole, because obviously the distance across the flats, which is 2.5mm, is actually less than across the corners. So if you had a 2mm hole in here, a 2mm square wire will not fit through. So we've got this, and this will just fit through that 3mm hole. As you can see now, this has got quite long. It's in the region of, I said 24, didn't I? This comes in at, yep, 25. So yeah, 4 times as long as what it originally was. Now, one thing I haven't touched on so far is using the V-grooves with a roller mill, is that if you take the rollers down too far too quick. As I said, this now is a little bit of metal I'm just rolling down. This happens to be 2.5mm as well. So let's have a look. So let's put it back through the roller mill to find where the 2.5mm was, which is in that one there. Okay, so we've got 2.5mm. We come down here. So say we want to take it down a little bit further, but we really perhaps want to take it down to say 2mm, although the size on this is irrelevant. We'll put it through. We're going to take it right down to a really small hole. And what happens, and you think, right, that's great. But if you look really, really closely on this now, you can see we've got a bit of a flange. Love that word. It's got a bit of an edge to it. You can see it's not quite right. It's squared, but it's been compressed so much the metal has squashed outwards between the rolls. So we've got this bit of a lip that's sticking out. We've got this bit of a lip that is just sticking out of the wire. Now, unfortunately, there's nothing you can really do with that. If you try and put it back through the rolling mill by turning it 90 degrees, you're going to be rolling that little bit of an edge back into the metal. But then as you're going to be working it, it's going to start flaking off. Or if you try and roll it down, the bits and pieces are going to get very rough, and those little bits that you have sort of squashed out and tried to squash back in start flaking off, and you've ruined the metal. So if this happens to you, you've gone down too far on the rolls. You've taken it down more than a quarter a turn, or you've taken it down onto the next V groove and forgot to raise the rolls, and you've squashed the metal. So what can you do? The only thing that you can do would be to file off this edge. Don't try and roll it back in, it won't work. You physically will have to file off this outer edge on both sides to take it back square. Then you can carry on then rolling it down square, taking it down a quarter of a turn each time, and don't try and be too adventurous and don't try and rush and take it down a half a turn, because this is what happens. All right, anyway, so 2.5mm square. We need to put it through the draw plates, okay? And we said the 2.5 fits through the square. So we need to take the wire through the next one down. It doesn't quite go through number 2, but it won't go. Now with a draw plate, the holes are tapered. So this is the face. As you can see, we've got a nice size uniform holes, but if you turn it over, we've got holes that are pretty much looking all the same, but these holes are tapered. The back hole is wider than the front hole, which allows us to put a bit of a taper on our wire to enable us to put the taper through the plate, so the taper sticks out to this side. Then we can grab it with the draw tongs here and pull it through. So don't anneal it just yet. We're going to step roll the end about 2 centimeters, which means we're going to roll it down a little bit to 2 centimeters. We're going to take it back, we're going to roll it down again about another centimeter. So we've got a step roll. We've rolled it in steps, in stages. That'll give us a taper on the end. Then we will anneal it. Why don't we anneal it first and then step roll it? Because when you step roll it, you'll work harden the end again. When you put it through the draw plates, the tongs will not be able to grip that piece of metal because it will be very hard. You've work hardened it. You need the metal the right sort of annealed state to be able to grab on with the teeth to pull it through. So let's step roll this first of all. So let's find rolls here. Okay, so it goes in. I'm going to move my fingers back about 2 centimeters, take that through, come back, turn it 90 degrees, put it in, come back. Drop the top roller down, turn the handle a quarter of a turn, take it through, bring it back, quarter of a turn, take it through, bring it back. Take it, top roller down again, take it into the rolls about 3/4 of the way this time. Out, there we go. Take it down to the next groove, loosen the rollers, take it through, centimeter, 90 degrees, take it through, 90 degrees. And now what we've got on the end is a piece of wire that has been step rolled. You can see it's 2.5mm here, but it gets a little bit thinner as we go down. It didn't go through the second hole. Now it will go through, and we've got this amount of metal that is smaller to be able to be grabbed onto by our draw tongs to pull through. And as we go along, we can use this bit of wire, and as you can see, as we go down the holes, we've got a nice tang, nice tapered section that will allow the draw tongs to grab onto, so we can draw down the wire to our 2mm. So first of all, let's anneal this. So you may have noticed that as we roll down the wire gets longer. And as we draw down the wire is going to continue to get longer. That could pose us a problem when it comes to annealing the metal, because as you can see, I got my little area here. It's very dirty, but it's about 30 centimeters squared. So the longest piece of metal I could really put in here is 30 centimeters. But let's just anneal this first of all. and I'll show you what we're going to do when we come to annealing it the next time. Okay. All right, let's wait for that to cool down, and then we're going to set up our draw bench to draw it down to 2mm wire. And making sure now, if you have put it through some water or put it in the basin or whatever to quench it, make sure it's nice and dry before you go any further. Another little tip that you can do is put a little bit of wax right on the taper here, or you can get a little bit of oil just to put onto the backs of the draw plate, just to ensure that the wire is lubricated as it goes through. Okay, so let's just wipe off the excess off that a moment. We're going to put this through the second hole, as you've got like that. We're going to put the draw plate in the end like this. You can clamp it into position if you want to. I don't tend to do that. I like to work fast. We've got the belt, we've got the jaws, we put the wire through the second hole so the tang just comes through. We get the tongs, we put the tongs over the tang, we help the tongs, we give them a bit of a squeeze, and then we turn the handle, and as the belt pulls, it'll pull the tongs together, which will then help to the tongs to grip the wire, and as we turn the handle, it'll pull the wire through the draw plate. So you wind the handle, and as you can see, the wire comes through. That's the first pass. Now it will start to work hard on the metal, and you may even find the wire a little bit warm as well from the action of being pulled through due to friction. So that's the first pass. It's going to take a couple of goes. So we're going to go now, we've done hole number 2. We're going to go down to hole number 3. Again, put that through. We got the tang. We got that tapered section here coming through. Put that in place. Get our tongs in place. Grab in the end, and then we're going to pull it again. And we're going to go along to hole number 4 and do exactly the same. And now it's getting a little bit harder to pull through. We've got a nice bit of round wire coming, but we've still got a bit of a flat on 4 sides, where as it's being drawn down, it's drawing and it's rubbing and compressing the corners. What we want to do is keep on going down until we've got a complete shiny bit of wire, until there's none of these little areas where the flats of the wire were. I'm going to take it down one more go, then I'm going to anneal it. Grab on and turn. So that was hole number 5. The wire now is coming down to 2.3 millimeters. So we're going to anneal it. Now this has got longer. It just about fits into my soldering station, but the easiest way now, it's quite hard to get an even temperature when you anneal from one end to the other, but if you can coil it or wrap it round into some sort of circle, you can then anneal it far easier. You can wrap it round. I'm desperately looking for the bangle mandrel. There it is. If you've got a bangle mandrel like this one, you can just push this round and just bend it around the mandrel like that, and now obviously that will fit a lot easier into your soldering area. Let's anneal it and carry on drawing it down. And then as you progress, as the wire gets longer and longer and longer, And as the wire gets longer and longer, you'll find it's going to be easier to accidentally melt it. So if you can wrap the wire around so it overlaps itself, you're going to find that you can anneal it far, far better. Also, don't have such a harsh flame. Have a nice soft flame, and that will stop you from melting the wire as well. Then sometimes when you're drawing down, perhaps when you have poured out your ingot, started to roll down your ingot, you may find there may be some little rough little bits along the wire. I got one or two very small little rough edges. You can get a file, just a little simple, he says, here we go, a simple, like a ring file or a normal flat file, and just gently file those off. I would do that over a tray. Simply just file just that little bit, just to remove any little edges that happen to be thrown up, and then take it back through the draw plates. Just straighten the wire out, and then we can put it through the next hole, which should be hole number 6. And we shall just simply keep on going down to hole number 7. Number 8. And we keep on going until we get down to the required size. So we're down to 2.1 millimeters. We can grab a little bit of emery paper before we come to the final pass, just to smooth off the surface. And we take it down, and the next one now should be our 2 millimeters. What you sometimes will find now is the little tang here won't actually fit through perhaps the required size. So you can just file the edge of the tang just to take that down so it goes through the draw plate, or step roll it once more. Now if you happen to step roll it, you've hardened the end, so the draw tongs may have a problem trying to grab it. So I would always anneal the end if you happen to step roll it, just to make it that nice, nicely annealed state. So we're going to pass it through number 8, and we're going to measure and see what size it is. We're down to about 2.1 millimeters. Okay, number 8 is quite easy. Let's go down to number 9. Okay, so the tang just comes through. Grab onto it, and we'll take it down. Let's measure. There we go, and we're down to 2 millimeters. The square wire started off at about 6 millimeters. We went down to 2.5 millimeters, so then the metal was then around about 24 centimeters, and now my piece of wire has gone all the way to 43 centimeters in length. Now we do have this little end here where we've been pulling it through the draw plate. Obviously this has got the serrations, and it's obviously thinner than the rest of the wire, so I'm not going to be using that little end, about 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, but we've got a nice piece of wire now that we can use in whatever you want to use it to in our projects, or we can even carry on drawing it down. And again, the same principle applies to this. If you have a piece of 2 millimeter diameter wire and you want to take this down to 1 millimeter, that piece will become 4 times as long. So it's the same principle for round wire as it is for square wire. So there we go. That is how we can take down our little section of ingot using the rolling mill to take it down to square, and then using the draw plates down to the required size. Don't forget, please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Smash the little bell icon if that's something that you're into. Please give it a thumbs up and share it with all your friends and jewelry making colleagues. Until the next time, my name is Andrew Berry for At The Benches YouTube channel. Take care. See you next time. Bye bye.